Hey, what's up guys? So today we are going to see how we can make some cool hologram effects in Unity. So we'll be using shader graph, and this method is actually procedural, which means we are not actually using any kind of textures. So as you can see here, we can control the amount of lines, the speed, as well as the color, and all of this is just procedural again. So you can just change everything on the fly and have cool animations, and you can control the speed as well. You can control the Fresnel effect, which as you can see gives some kind of view direction and fading to it, as well as the actual size of each bars if you really want. And we also have a cool and nice glowing effect as well, which you can change based on the colors and settings that you have, as well as you can also have some kind of pixelated effect. So here, as you can see, if I enable pixels, you can see some kind of little pixels in the screen here. And for the monkey, I actually disable the pixels, but you can enable them, and you'll see that it changes a little bit of the color and gives that nice pixelated look. So actually, let's get started. So here is the first node that we have. As you can see, we've got some variables on top: edge in, speed, sphere strength, horizontal, and color. Actually, you could just ignore sphere strength. It does not actually make much of a difference in our situation. So we've got all of this. Then we start with a spherize to get the UV. You could replace this with other things as well if you want, but for our case I'm going to use spherize. You could also use the UV, and it should also give a similar result, but this is cool if, for instance, you want to also modify the actual UV and have some other effects as well. So you can just play around with it if you want. And then here we are actually splitting it into two to get R and G. The reason being is that if, let's say, you wanted the scan line to go horizontally, so for instance, if I were to select this here, as you can see, it just flips horizontally, and so does for the monkey as well. Then what we want to do is we want to actually use the green channel for vertical and the red one for horizontal. So as you can see here, if I come into the horizontal one and I override the value, it just flips the horizontal one. The reason being is that here we are splitting it into the different components, so the R, G, and B component, and we are also having an alpha. And as you can see here, we have the red one and we have the green one. So the red one is actually vertical. For the green one, it's actually horizontal, and we don't actually have any blue, and we also don't have the alpha channel, so that's why this works. And then here we have a basic time node, all right, and the speed can be controls the how fast each line goes, and then the time is what actually makes the line move up. So you are basically just multiplying these two values. And then here we are, so once we actually finish our check here, whether or not we want it horizontal or vertical, we subtract the time from the branch. All right, so that allows us to move it up, and then after we subtract, we actually multiply a color to it. This color is responsible for how much lines there are. As you can see, if I change the color, the amount of lines actually changes as well. And here we have the edge in component that we are splitting. Reason why we are splitting is because the smooth step node here has two inputs, so edge 1 and edge 2. So, and I have just an edge in component representing a vector 2, so I'm just splitting basically for the x and the y value, and this is what allows us to control the thickness of each line as well for both horizontal and vertical. And then this is connected to the output. So this is the first horizontal line, Now this is for the hologram, which is another graph, and on this one we include the hologram line subgraph, and we pass in the values here. So this gives us the scanning line, and then here what we do is we take a Fresnel effect. This is just a float. The value allows us to then control how much effect the Fresnel has, as you can see. So this is multiplied by the output of the scan line, which is then fed into the power node of the Fresnel effect node, and then we just multiply this by our color, so the color that we want the hologram to be. In our case this is cyan, and then here it's a little bit complex. Let's try and break it down a little. So this node comes here and then this comes here. So here we have the dithering node. So dithering actually allows us to get the kind of a pixelated look to our hologram. So what I do is I just take the output of this multiply node and put it into the dither node. So this makes it a little bit pixelated, and then here we branch. So if we want pixels, then we use the dither node outputs, but if we don't want any pixel, then we just use the multiply node. So once this check has been done, we have another check for the checkboard effect. Here if I were to change the values a little bit, as you can see, this checkboard kind of gives us a cool effect. I don't know how to describe it, but it looks cool. Okay, so what happens here is we take this branch from our previous check, and if we want a checkboard effect, then we take the branch output and plug it in into the checkboard color A component. As for the color B is just our hologram color again, and we have a frequency that we can change in the editor. As for the UV, we just take the multiply node from the Fresnel effect and we just plug that in into the UV one. And as you can see, this is what the checkboard does. And if I were to change the frequency, you can see that each square gets different sizes. It scales up. So by plugging it, the multiply node as a UV, you get this cool effect here. And then this goes into our check mode, and then this branch node just splits into the base color, the emission, and the alpha. And if you save all of this, then you should be able to have this kind of hologram effect. If you guys are interested, let me know. I might have a download link for this shader in the description down below. And if you guys found this video helpful, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you have not already. Also do let me know what you want me to cover on next, and don't forget to also turn on post notification, and I'll see you guys next one. Bye.